Can I call to order this meeting of the Measure G1 District-Wide Teacher Retention and Middle School Improvement Act Oversight Commission? Mr. Hollis, can we do a roll call?
Yes, Chair. On the roll call for the Measure G1 Commission meeting for September 9th, 2025. Commissioner Mesa,
Present.
Secretary Chan,
Present.
Vice Chair Riley.
Present.
Chair, quorum is present.
Fantastic, thank you. So our first item for this year, item C, is new officers. So we have C1 nomination for chairperson. Do we need to bring that to the floor before we can nominate somebody?
Yes, currently, if you will, is technically on the floor. You can accept nominations for the chairperson, and also persons can self-nominate if they choose.
Would anybody like to sub-nominate to be chairperson? Right, I can do it. I self-nominate myself.
All
I
right.
second.
I assume no further nominations for chairperson. Okay. With that, Commissioner Riley, would you like to give an up to 2-minute speech on your nomination for chairperson?
Sure. I'll give a 15-second speech. It's been an honor being a part of this board, learning more about the working with this great team, and I am honored to be nominated to chair us for the next year.
All right, so moving forward, for this item, we have no public members to give public comment on this item. So we can move forward to the election if that's your will, Acting Chair.
Yeah. We have to move.
All right. So on the election of the chairperson, well, first of all, there are no public commenters to speak on this item, and for the election itself, you would state the name of the person whom you wish to elect. Being that there's only one person, you can just say yay or nay to that nomination for chairperson. So go ahead and move forward with the vote.
Go for it.
All right. So shall Terrence Riley be nominated to chairperson of the Measure G1 District-Wide Teacher Retention and Middle School Improvement Act Oversight Commission for the 2025 unexpired term? Commissioner Mesa?
Yay.
Secretary Chan?
Yay.
Vice Chair Riley?
Yay.
All right. Vice Chair Riley, you are chair of the Measure G1 Commission for the unexpired term of 2025.
Let's move on to C3, nominations for vice chair. Would anybody like to nominate or self-nominate?
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Chan.
If you do, you can confirm or accept or deny it.
I accept.
All right. I assume there's no further nominations. Would you like to give an up to 2-minute speech on your nomination?
I've really enjoyed my time over the past 8 months being secretary and working with everyone here, and again learning and getting involved with this committee or this commission. And I am happy, I'm excited to take on the vice chair role, especially as we welcome on more people to the group. So they can start as just committee members first before taking on. So I'm happy to accept this nomination.
All right, with that, there are no public commenters for this item, Chair. Would you like me to move forward to the election of the vice chair?
Yes, please.
Right. Also, with the vice chair, there are no public commenters for this item. Moving forward to the votes, being that there's only one person nominated for vice chair, you would just say yea or nay to that nomination. Okay. Shall Tiffany Chan be nominated or elected the vice chairperson for Measure G1 district-wide Teacher Retention and Middle School Improvement Act Oversight Commission for the 2025 unexpired term? Commissioner Mesa,
Yay.
Secretary Chan,
Yay.
and Chair Riley.
Yay.
All right, Secretary Chan, you are now Vice Chair Chan of the commission.
And lastly, moving to item C5, nomination of secretary. Who would like to nominate or self-nominate?
Oh, self-nominate.
All right, seeing that technically there's no one else, would you like to give an up to 2-minute speech for your nominations for secretary?
It will be my honor to be secretary and work under both the chair and the vice chair to support them in their duties of being on this commission. Thank you.
All right, there are no public commenters for this item. Would you like me to move forward with the vote, Chair?
Yes, please.
Right. Onward to the election. Being that there's only one candidate for the nomination of secretary, you can say yea or nay to that nomination. And there are no public commenters for this item. So, shall Frederick Mesa be elected secretary for the Measure G1 district-wide Teacher Retention and Middle School Improvement Act Oversight Commission for the 2025 unexpired term? Commissioner Mesa.
Yay.
Vice Chair Chan,
Yay.
and Chair Riley.
Yay.
All right, Commissioner Mesa, you are the secretary for the commission. I have none. If the commission has any, they can.
Let's move on to E, adoption of the commission minutes. Can we do both of these at once, or do we have to do them individually?
You can move them both at once, though they will be recorded separately. However, it's just a matter of making the motion to vote on them consecutively.
Can I have a motion to bring these to the floor?
Motion.
A second.
So these are the minutes from the past April and June meeting. Any discussion around these? Can we move to a vote?
Yes, so that was moved by Secretary Mesa, and moved by Secretary Mesa, seconded by Vice Chair Chan to approve both E.-1 and 2. There are no public commenters for either item. So moving forward with the vote, that's okay, Chair?
Yep.
Right, so on the motion to approve both E.-1 and E.-2, the minutes for the commission for April 8th and June 3rd. Secretary Mesa,
Yay.
Vice Chair Chan,
Yay.
and Chair Riley.
Yay.
Minutes are approved.
Item F, adoption of the general consent report. We don't have one, isn't that correct?
Correct.
Oh. Item G, unfinished business. G1, use of Measure G1 surplus unallocated funds. Can we have a motion to bring this to the floor for discussion?
Motion?
Second.
So I brought this item, or I asked to add it to our agenda for today because this is something we went over in June, and I thought it would be good to have a refresher as we start the school year on the change that is happening with the surplus, knowing that the surplus that we had is going to teacher training, and seeing if we could get an update around the training. Has it started? Who's been a part of it, or any kind of update you have with it?
Yes. Thank you very much for bringing this item for discussion. I'm happy to share. I can give some background on the surplus, and then I will share how these funds are being used now. So every year since the beginning of this 12-year parcel tax, of which we're in year 9 of 12 years, every year an allocation was made out to every one of the middle schools that submitted an application for these funds. The funds were not always used by every school to the full amount of their allocation. And whenever that happened, the unspent funds would be collected and put into a certain account, which we call the surplus. And the schools had a year to use that money as carryover. And actually, those unspent funds became carryover for a year. And then after those funds were not used for that year, then it went into an account which we call the surplus. So over time, many dollars were not spent, and the surplus grew. And it looks like it grew to about $6,422,612.14. And so that surplus was growing while we allocated each year's new monies out to the different schools. So what we used to do is, in addition to the regular allocation and the carryover, we would give a portion of the surplus out to the sites to spend, and they would have to do an application for that allocation as well, an application for the surplus allocation. So now there's been a change in how we approach the surplus funds. Although I will say that we are still allocating carryover funds, and so that's one of the items that we'll talk about tonight, is the carryover funds that we'll be giving out to the sites. In terms of the surplus, so these are the funds that were not spent over 2 years and started to accumulate. The idea was that we would spend these funds on the teacher retention portion of the Measure G1 parcel tax that the voters of Oakland voted for. So the teacher retention in the form of teacher training. And so we have a high percentage of teachers in Oakland that are in their first few years of teaching. And so these funds will be used for attracting and retaining school site educators in the form of academic coordinators who coach new teachers, as well as coach other coaches to coach new teachers. We've already started that process now. And in fact, today I was at West Oakland Middle School, and earlier this week we were at Edna Brewer, and we're going to look at all 11 middle schools in the middle school network through what we're calling learning walks, where these coaches all attend. We sit with the teacher leaders and the administration at each of the schools. We inspect several classes, and then we discuss what the next steps are for those particular teachers. And so that's the sort of work that we're able to do with these personnel that the G1 funds are funding. A couple reasons why we made the change to use the funds in these ways instead of sending them directly to the sites. Number one, in the fall of 24-25, so fall of last year, our board of directors recommended that and approved the strategic use of surplus funds from every parcel tax, Measure G, Measure N, as well as G1, to free up general funds to help address our district's financial shortfall, of which we have a serious situation now. And so that was one main directive, is to address this financial shortfall by using these surplus from the parcel taxes. Secondly, as I mentioned, we're in the 9th year of this 12-year lifespan of the Measure G1 parcel tax, and it's set to expire in 2028. And so we have to go back to the voters and make the case that we've used these funds in a responsible way, and in accordance with the will of the voters as captured in the language of the legislation. And so we want to be able to tell a story about how it directly impacted the students. And we will try and collect data over the years that show all the different types of expenditures that we've done. And we'd like to be able to tell a direct narrative and a simpler narrative that says, here's one large expenditure that we made, and here are the benefits that we had from it. And so those are the two reasons why we made the adjustments. There's definitely drawbacks and positives to doing it this way versus the other way. But this is a decision that our board has made, and that has brought us to this situation now.
Thank you for that extensive explanation. I have a couple of follow-up questions. Number one, this is, my naivete, but are these funds, because they're such a large amount, are they investable, or are they sitting just in an account kind of collecting dust until they're used?
I do not believe that public funds in this way can be investable. I'm not an expert on that. Maybe Director Thompson knows, but I believe that we're not able to collect. Actually, I'm not even sure if we can collect interest or whatnot. So yeah, I believe we're not able to.
Was also, are these funds going to be used past this year, or is it just for this year?
I believe they're going to be spent down this year, which then will leave us just with the annual carryover. And again, we will no longer have surplus, because any unspent funds will just sweep up and then give out the following year as carryover. And so this is really just spending down this unused money that was sitting there as surplus. But from now on, any unused funds will go back to the sites year after year until it's spent down.
My last question, just so I know that with Measure G1 funds, it's a 65-35 split. And so this money was originally a part of the 35, but now it's going to the 65. I'm assuming it's okay to do that. Question number one. And question number two, will this commission be responsible for like monitoring the training or anything like that, like we are with the Richmond funds?
These funds are still going to be considered part of the 35%. In fact, sites can use these funds to hire additional music teachers or language teachers, and that doesn't count towards the 65%. It's still part of the 35 site grant allocation funding. And will the commission be responsible for monitoring the training? I think probably insofar as the audit, you'll oversee the audit, and you're always welcome to do a site visit to see how some of those trainings are going. I think those would be the ways that you all could oversee.
I have two questions. One is the carryover. So we're continuing to have that one carryover year. And will that carryover just go back to the site that it's carrying over? It doesn't actually open up to other sites, correct?
No, what'll happen is every year's carryover amount that doesn't get spent, we'll collect that back up, put it back into a pot, and then redistribute that out to sites based on the same formula that we give out to the regular allocation to each site. So what that does is it incentivizes the sites to spend down those funds, because we've had some sites have hundreds of thousands of dollars go unspent because they felt like they could just keep on having it carry over year after year.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it'll kind of be redistributed then?
Yes,
But not evenly distributed. It's based on the original formula.
that's right, based on the formula.
And then for the academic coordinators, are these like new hires? Are these current teachers like adding additional responsibility? Are they consultants?
They're not consultants, not new hires. These are folks that we've had on staff, and they've been doing some of this work already. And these funds are just being used to continue their work.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. There asked some of the same questions that I had. So can you walk us a little bit through of how those coaches or academic coordinators, how are they allocated to each site, in which way? And then if there are folks that are already kind of doing the work, how does that work out in terms of like it seems like that is, or it could be viewed as supplanting, since they already had this position, and then the money is reallocated to them, and the money that was once allocated to them to do those positions in the past then got swept back up into the general fund and then redistributed?
Yes, so two questions. So in terms of them working with sites, they work with the different sites in as they try and be as even as possible in terms of how they allocate their time. They work with various staff in their departments at each site, a science coordinator, an English coordinator, a math coordinator. Will work with a math teacher at each site. They also have coaching collaborative meetings where a representative from each site comes and meets with these staff members for training, and then they get redeployed back out to the sites. They're also all available for on-call support from any of the sites as well. And then so they don't necessarily apportion their time to any particular site all the time, and not to any other site. They try and make sure that they're available for all the different sites. In terms of the supplanting, so with G1, one way that we have defined supplanting for these funds is that if funds were to, if funding was lost, if funding had gone away, then if that would be considered lost funds, and using G1 to fund an item that otherwise would have been cut, then is not considered supplanting. And then so that's not necessarily how all funds are defined in terms of supplanting, but for this commission, I think since the inception of this commission, there was that definition of the funds for supplanting purposes.
So then a follow-up question on that. So is it understood by principals that that is the definition of the commission in the measure of supplanting? Because if that was the situation, then money that if we're saying that they've lost grant money, which most schools have, then they would be able to replace some of those positions that they've already lost in this recent kind of budget cycle. So then they're not given the opportunity to replace some of those positions with some of this surplus because maybe they don't understand that that was the situation?
So every year with all the middle schools that I work with, we go through a budgeting process. And in that budgeting process, because there's so many different types of funds that have different rules, we go through each one of those funds and the different rules, and the including G1, and the principals, they let me know, well, here's what we're thinking that we want to fund. And then between us, we talk about the different funds and the different ways that those expenditures could be funded, including this looking at the supplanting rule through G1. I've had several conversations with principals where this very thing has come up, and we've allowed for items to be funded when they lost a grant or some other funding source.
So my next question is, so my understanding is that there's this carryover allocation that's going to continue. It goes into a pot, then different schools can apply for a certain amount of money based on the formula that has existed. So what happens if that money doesn't get used? Does it then get returned into a surplus again?
Yes, so what'll happen is any unused funds, through a formula, will get allocated out to every school. So they'll have this allocation that they'll be given an application for. If they submit the application, then and it gets approved here, then they can use those funds. If they don't submit an application, those funds and any funds that a school happens to not end up using will get swept up, and that'll be added to any of the regular allocation that wasn't used this in a given year, and then they'll be reallocated again next year. So again, it really advantages and incentivizes a school to use that funding, because then they'll deplete their funds, but any school that may not have spent all their funds, that money's gonna be collected back up and then redistributed out back to everybody. So, so that way we've designed this process so that the money doesn't just sit there, and that it would go back out to the sites so they could use it every year.
And the last question is around the piece that's using for the academic coordinators. So what is in place to ensure or track the effectiveness of that new initiative?
Because that expenditure is for the part of the legislation that's about attracting and retaining school site educators, we'll look at teacher turnover, and we'll see if the teacher turnover has been reduced. And we also have an annual survey amongst our principals and staff that tell us what has caused them to stay, or an exit interview if they leave, and what has caused them to leave. So hopefully seeing that data that this additional academic support has impacted them to feel more successful and actually be more successful with our students, and have them be a reason for them to stay.
Oh, sorry, I misspoke. I said that was the last question. I do have a follow-up. So my other question is, then, even with how many academic coordinators are there?
We have 3.
3. And so with the academic coordinators and their salary, benefits, and everything, that still equals $6,422,000?
That is kind of a lot. It's possible that we're not actually spending down that whole surplus in 1 year. It's possible that we're probably spending that over time. That's a good point. Yeah, no, it would not cost $2 million per person.
Because on Ms. Dawson's packet that she had sent us in returns, and it talks specifically about option 7, the spend down of all reserves and parcel taxes 25, 26, and 26, 27. Specifically, it says in the impact that spending all parcel tax reserves will help minimize the immediate impact of staffing reductions at school sites. However, these one-time funds cannot sustain positions or problems beyond this period. Without a reserve balance in these restricted funds, the district will face increased financial risk in future years.
Yeah, what page are you looking at in that?
Unfortunately, it's not numbered. Oh, there it is.
So 53, eliminating, reducing all parcel taxes. Without a reserve balance in these restricted funds, it is. Yeah, I know. You have a very good point. I think I'm going to have to speak with our chief business officer to clarify this point.
And then, in doing so, could you also, so there's also a discrepancy in terms of the amount. So on that page, it says that the surplus is 5.8 million, but then back on the first page, we're saying that the surplus is 6,422,000.
Thank you. I'll look at that as well.
I just, one more clarifying question. I think you might have already answered it, but this coaching is available to all middle schools?
Yes.
Any other questions or discussion? This is a non-voting item, so can we just move to the next item?
So real quick, there are no public commenters for this item, so yeah, yes, you can.
New business, H1, carryover allocations for named schools. We just talked about that briefly, but can I have a motion to bring this to the floor for a vote?
Motion?
Second.
And also, just for clarification, there will be a motion to approve the carryover allocations.
Just my question around this was looking at the carryover. It listed the amounts by school, but there wasn't a total number. Do you know what that total amount is? Didn't do that math in my head.
It doesn't look like we have that figure here. Unless, Karen, do you have that figure?
Good evening, Commission. Yes, I do have that figure.
Hold on one moment while we attempt to get her voice online.
Any other questions while we wait?
Can you all hear me?
Here in the room, no. Right, I can hear her in your space, but she's not coming in.
Can you all hear me?
Not yet. One moment. Can you try to speak again, Karen?
Can you all hear me? Good evening.
No, we don't hear you in the room. Still trying.
Can I ask a question? So these carryover funds are from last year, but essentially, which is why I asked the question, you're gonna take the full amount of all of them together and reallocate them. So what the amounts are here aren't gonna be what's available to each school this year. It's gonna be a different.
This is the amount that has been run through the
This is
formula.
the
So this is the actual amount that they'll be allocated this year
Okay.
in carryover funds. So they'll each have to, except for Hillcrest, which is under $5,000, they'll have to submit a fuller application, which then this commission will take a look at all of those applications. Any one of these, actually, looks like there's 3 that are under 5,000. It's a shorter form, which is a quicker process.
Okay.
And then so they would submit that, and this would be funding they can use this year, correct?
Yes.
Great. And do the
Yes.
principals already know this? Is this something, or have they gotten this allocation yet? Or will happen after we approve it?
Exactly. So after you approve it, then they'll get the applications, which are ready to be sent out, and it's just a matter of you all approving it. Then tomorrow, Karen will send them out.
One moment, trying to find a way that we can get Karen on the mic, and we'll see if this works.
Try to speak.
Hi, good evening. Can you all hear me?
Still nothing. Jesus.
Okay.
Still trying.
I did text Cliff the total amount that we
Well,
have. For
she just
carryover.
texted me the full amount, and so there's another way we can get the information. So Karen says the total for both OUSD and charter sites altogether, so the whole entire total is $1,320,393.
Thank you both. Can we vote on approving the carryover?
Yes, Chair. On the motion to approve the carryover allocation for named schools for school year 2024-2025. Secretary Mesa,
Yay.
Vice Chair Chan,
Yay.
Chair Riley.
Yay.
Motion is approved.
Item I, public comments on non-agenda items. Do we have any public comments?
We do have one public commenter on Zoom. Is real quick for the name. So Megan Roberto Williams. If I can unmute them to speak.
Hello?
Oh, and I don't know if Megan, can you keep speaking to see if we can get you in the room?
Yes, I am sorry, I'm like having a hard time thinking of things to say,
No,
but
keep trying to speak.
okay. I am trying to speak. I am a parent. I have come to this commission. It's been helpful to listen in on what's happening on this commission or committee. I appreciate the information and the funds being used and spent down. I am hoping that the Zoom works because I really want to ensure that I'm advocating for families like myself. I don't know if it's working yet. I hope that you can hear me soon so that we can care for each other. And I know that tech can be really hard. So I'm thinking that there's maybe something else going on with the tech because this happened last time I was trying to talk with this, I think this room, whatever this room is, because there was a piece around superintendent selection and there were some issues, but it eventually worked.
Still working on technical issues. If I may, if I can pass for a moment to Director Director Thompson, who wanted to make some comments to the commission as your liaison. We'll see if we can work out the situation with public comment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hollis. First of all, I want to bring you greetings from the board because we're very excited that we have people who are committed to doing this hard work. And I want to say congratulations on all of your appointments. I really appreciate sitting here, seeing it happen, and seeing the eye contact between individuals. People were talking, and I really like that. I think that's fantastic. But secondly, I want to congratulate you on the robust discussion that you had in reference to carryover funds and then surplus funds, because There is a distinct difference between the two, and I really appreciate the discussion, the questions that were asked about the money, and of course, Superintendent Hong, we appreciate you so much for being here, leading all of the work to make sure it actually happens for our students. As all of you know, we are dealing with a pretty difficult situation at the board level. And it's people like you that actually put in the hard work, that really hold us accountable for doing the right thing. And so I just want to say I appreciate all of you. I know we're only serving with 3 commission members right now. I do want you to know that I've talked to the president several times about what's going on. I've talked to Mr. Rakestraw about it. I've mentioned it to Mr. Hollis, and we think there is at least one application in the hopper, we think. I talked to an individual who said that this individual was interested in G1. And so I'm not sure if there was a difficulty in submitting the application or whatever the case might have been, but that should be happening real soon. So just continue the work, please, because you're helping us out a great deal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Thompson.
One moment as we're still trying to work out some details with public comment and public speakers. Seeing if we can get this resolved before the end of this meeting. My apologies for the technical difficulties. Give us possibly a good 5 to 10 minutes. Karen, can you say a couple of words real quick, please?
Hi, can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? Testing, testing, testing,
You should be able to get.
testing, 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 testing,
Hold on, give me a couple
testing.
of seconds.
Testing, 1, 2, 3, testing, testing. Testing, testing,
All right, Karen, can you
testing,
say a couple
one,
of
two,
words now?
three. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you all
have
hear
to
me?
tone-
Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing.
Okay, correct. We can hear her. Now, also, can you turn on your mic?
Testing, testing, testing.
Got it. Okay, so with that,
Testing, testing.
yes, we can hear you. We can hear you. Okay, so now, Megan, I'm gonna allow you.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing.
Oh, maybe it was like there's a lag or something there. But
Testing, testing.
all right, Karen,
Testing,
say a couple
1,
words
2,
now?
3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you all hear me? Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing.
Okay, correct. We can hear her. Now, also, can you turn on your mic?
Testing, testing, testing.
There's a lag.
Okay,
Got it. Hold on one second.
that,
Testing, testing.
yes, we can hear you.
We're okay. Excuse me, Megan Roberto Williams. We are going to see if we can get you on the mic to speak. We're going to pass you a number that you can call so that we can get your words on public. Can you give that number, please, Superintendent Hong?
Yes, it's 510-224-3668.
If possible, can you raise your hand repeatedly to let me know that you got that number, Meg? Yes. Okay, cool. Call in as soon as you can, and we will get your comments on the mic. Okay, I see that you're raising the hand. Just let me know when you have called the number so that we can get your public comments on the record.
The number's 510-224-3668.
Hi, I need the number said slower, please. Hello?
Can you hear me, Meg?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I need the number
Okay.
said slower. They keep saying it like so fast, and this is so
Yeah,
frustrating.
let me have Cliff repeat it one more time. Give me one
Thank
second.
you. Oh my God, you
Can you
guys, just like
repeat the
let me
number
off
slowly,
mute.
please?
510-224-3668.
Oh, there it goes. Did you get it, Meg?
Yes, 224-3668.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm gonna call right now. Thank you so much. I'm like, guys.
You're welcome.
224-3668. Okay, let me try calling.
Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, this is Meg.
Hi, Meg. Okay. Corey, you good?
Yes, just put the phone to the mic so she could be heard.
Okay, we can hear you now, Meg.
Okay, thank you for the solution. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I think it was Karen who helped me get the phone number. My name is Meg Roberto Williams, and I'm sorry, I'm like on the Zoom meeting too, so it's back echoing maybe. Is it okay to keep speaking?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm a parent of a child in Montclair's extensive needs classroom. And tonight I wanted to make a comment about G1 and teacher retention because I think there's a direct connection to special education, especially hearing what you all were saying about like exit interviews and retention. Our classroom is now in the second year without a permanent teacher, and we are not the only extensive needs classroom. Our classroom has 10 non-speaking children in it. And instead, students with significant needs, most, again, who are non-speaking on a spectrum, have multiple disabilities, are being supervised by paraeducators and substitutes who hold 30-day emergency permits. And families are being asked to accept unsafe conditions like falling bookshelves, children eloping with no notification of families, and inconsistent communication. And I, from a family perspective, I've also been a systems leader, I've been a principal. I feel like this isn't a staffing issue only, it's a retention crisis. And hearing that the funds were not spent down and that principals are not necessarily being coached on how to spend these down, I'm glad that there's a new funding formula so that it doesn't just sit there. But our vulnerable classrooms are experiencing chronic vacancies. And when families are told, like we try to raise these concerns, we're just told like special education is a piece of the puzzle, but no one is owning extensive need teacher retention. And I'm not sure principals are clear how grave this concern is and that they would put their training dollars towards this at all levels, not just kinder, middle school, high school. And I just really want to encourage this committee, commission to consider what it means to really either find the retention data and coach principals or work with network superintendents or to the board member who's there so that we can actually have retention that supports our extensive needs classrooms being stable, first and foremost, being safe, but also supporting our students' unique needs because they deserve as much access to a retained, supported, trained new teacher, and they need mentoring more extensively than most because of the ways in which they have to support. So thank you. I appreciate all the solutions to buying time. I also put that comment on the agenda item. I do hope that those get read. I don't know. I'm just naming that I did comment.
Thank you, Meg.
There are no further speakers for this item, Chair.
Thank you, Meg, for your comment. Thank you, Superintendent Hong and Mr. Hollis for working through those technical difficulties. Any discussion on the comment?
If I may, there's no discussion on public comment.
Okay.
If there's any, I guess, like,
Follow up.
yeah, I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, just any follow up.
No, I just said I would leave it there. There's no discussion of public comments unless there was like maybe a quick response to, or like a checking, like in that sense, but not a discussion of public comments.
I guess my comment would be that if something that we can put on as a next agenda item, once we find out how much of that surplus exists, how it's being used, then that's something that could be revisited in terms of looking and maybe getting more information around recruitment and retention and some numbers behind that to figure out if there is money from the surplus that is going towards what it said it was, but if there's surplus to the surplus, then maybe there's other ideas and other ways that we can figure out to address the retention and the recruitment of teachers.
I'll just add that I want to commend the team on thinking creatively around the surplus and the board as well on just how to use it and making sure that we are serving our teachers, which in turn serves our students and families better. So I appreciate how the surplus is being used and excited to hear more about it throughout the year. We move on to item J. Any new legislative matters from anyone on the commission?
Also, there are no public commenters on this item, but I'll move.
Was it on the agenda that we were, in terms of the calendar, the future calendar, there were some dates that we had talked about that we had to change because we have a meeting that was on holiday? Is that on this agenda, or when do we do that? So November 11th specifically was Veterans Day that we're scheduled to meet?
Oh, right. I do recall that. Yes, there is a meeting in November of our regular meeting on a Tuesday where was that Veterans Day, is it? Would land. So there would need to be a special meeting if y'all want to continue to have a meeting in November. That is something that can be discussed either here or, either after this committee meeting or now, if you like. But we would need to find a date for a special meeting in November.
Is this something we can talk about offline?
Yes.
Possibly wait till after the October meeting to see how many agenda items we may or may not have for November?
Yes.
Okay. Can I adjourn the meeting?
That you can.
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.